Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Torin here with another Warhammer Total War online commentary. In this multiplayer battle, I am going to be piloting the Dwarves, led by the Slayer King, Ungram Ironfist, who is hiding somewhere here among his troops. There he is. And I'm facing off against a Chaos opponent who actually has a very interesting and uncommon army, at least, from what I've seen as far as Chaos armies go. It was definitely a very goofy game, and it's very close, and I figured it would be a fun one to show you guys, so without further ado, let's get started with the army compositions. So again, against Chaos, I wanted to experiment a little bit, because again, a lot of times Chaos will bring a lot of infantry. They don't bring any range, usually. So again, the shielded mechanic isn't always as good, and they don't usually utilize the trolls or giants or other units like that. So I figured, let's try the Longbeards with great weapons. They're still armored. They have armor piercing, which is very good against Chaos, them being a very heavily armored faction. And again, they're fairly resilient, even without the shields. High leadership as well. In the secondary line, I have Coilers with great weapons. Again, these guys are armor piercing as well. So I figured, the Chaos would eventually get through and get on these guys. So I wanted to try that out, though, again, there are arguments to getting the regular Coilers as well. In the back line, I have another group of Longbeards with great weapons, and then a single group of Slayers. I like to just bring at least one group because they are very mobile and can usually do quite a bit. And then as far as my leadership goes, I decided to go really deep into the Dwarf leader roster. So I have Ungram with the Axe of Dargo. I have a Runesmith with all of the augmentations except, I believe, the ranged missile resistance, which ends up biting me a little bit this game. Then I have two Thanes, both who are rock and potions. So these guys are going to be doing some serious beatdown this game. I'm really excited, and we will see how they pan out. And then I also decided to just mess around a little bit and try out the organ gun, which really, really does not pay off. I actually just get well, I don't want to spoil it for you guys. It's interesting, to say the least. As far as his army composition goes, he actually brought 4 groups of Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes. And these units have pretty low leadership, so I figured that if I can crack his main army, these things would just flee the battlefield. So that was kind of my plan. He has a Chaos Sorcerer Lord with fire, and then he also has 2 Hell Cannons. That is a massive investment. But against Dwarves, I don't have a lot that can get to them easily, so he has a massive siege advantage. And the Dwarvish armies can tend to be very compact, so they're very subject to taking serious Hell Cannon fire. So usually Hell Cannons, in my opinion, kind of suck, but in this game it was actually pretty rough. And of course he has the Chaos Dwarves here with their little beards and horns ready to do some work. He has 4 groups of Chaos Warriors with great weapons, so again, it's going to be pretty good. Granted, they will take quite a bit of damage from missile attacks. And then he has 2 groups of Chaos Trolls who are armored as well. So definitely a unique army composition. So without further ado, let us get started. So I just advanced my army. Again, he has the massive range advantage with these Hell Cannons. So I just unfortunately had to move into his territory. And I was not excited about that. So I saw him advancing with these Marauder Horsemen. So I was like, all right, well, might as well take some pot shots with these organ guns and see if I can at least get some value, because I figured they were just going to get destroyed by these Hell Cannons rather quickly. And also that Chaos Sorcerer with the fire, he can just come in and cast a fireball. Yeah, I believe that's how he opens. And it'll pretty much always just destroy one of your organ guns right away if it's a direct hit. So as you can see, that thing's coming in from deep. And say goodbye to that organ gun. So now I'm down to 2 organ guns. Already a really, really bad situation for me. And I do get some decent shots on these Marauder Horsemen, but again, nothing to justify bringing these, that's for sure. But I guess it's not terrible. Did a little bit of damage. So again, I start to move them forward, and I realize I just got to move this army forward and engage. So I noticed the shots looked like they were about to land. So I actually pulled back at the last second and was able to dodge that front line. But again, that other Hell Cannon landed a pretty serious hit and just devastated my organ gun. So they're basically useless at this point, so that was not fun. This is always a really uncomfortable position to be in with Dwarves when you have the siege disadvantage and you just have to march into your opponent. Again, this army composition I have actually isn't bad for that. It's a fairly aggressive army composition with all of these Thanes and Runesmith. I can really go headlong into this fire and hopefully survive. But again, I'm just taking heavy hits from these guys, and the Doom Cannons, or Hell Cannons, excuse me, do quite a bit of damage. So I definitely was not happy about that. You can see these poor Dwarves are littering the battlefield. Those guys did not have a good time. That one got decapitated. So things could certainly be going better for my guys. Thankfully, Hell Cannons are not very accurate. So it could be worse. But again, I have so many dense troops here. I probably should have spread them out somehow. But I didn't want to break my formation. I wanted to keep it focused and tight. So when I do engage, it's of the optimal setup. But again, just taking some serious damage from those guys. Thankfully, I'm finally starting to get close, and those Hell Cannons are a 2,000 apiece investment, if I'm not mistaken. Look, the organ gun's still operational, that one over there. So if I can close the distance and do some good damage, I will be able to, I think, win this battle. So again, he's just forming his battle line. He does have the trolls, which have very low leadership. God, that was so much damage. I really, really wish I had gotten maybe the shielded guys at this point, because they're just getting devastated by those hell cannons. And now he pulls in these Marauder Horsemen, who are going to start throwing axes at these unshielded Longbeards. So, man, I was really regretting my decision, because they're taking a lot of fire. So I turned this group of Quarrelers who's going to start shooting at these guys, and Quarrelers will do quite good against Marauder Horsemen. So they're teeing off on them and kind of forcing them to retreat. And I keep a group of Slayers back here just in case he decides to land his Chaos Sword, which decided to just finish off that organ gun. But that thing was useless anyways at this point, so I wasn't that sad. So I was feeling real grim here. I cast a Rune of Wrath and Rune here. I just cast it on the first thing that was in range, essentially. And I decided to engage across the line. And again, these are Chaos Warriors with great weapons. They're high armor, higher than the Longbeards, actually. And, it's going to be a rough matchup. I'm kind of going up at a bad angle. And he also has troll support. But something to take into account is I have the 2 Thanes as well as Ungrim. So I have a really strong melee core of leadership. And all he has is this Chaos Sorcerer with the Lore of Fire back here. And the Slayers will be chasing him around and hopefully dealing with him. So this frontline engagement I think will go quite well for me. And I do have both of my Quarrelers now shooting at these guys. So, I wanted to get some units through to these, but it was very hard to get through this Chaos Wall here. And this Thane is now coming up. I kept him an auxiliary to potentially deal with his Lord, but the Slayers were able to take care of that, so I decided to pull him forward. So unfortunately, these Hell Cannons are still just shooting at my guys back here, doing quite a bit of damage. I was not happy about that, but regardless, this frontline battle is now underway. And you can see, Ungrim, he slayed those trolls. He really put them down, and they have low leadership. I mean, they're -3. I think they started on like 40 or 50, so it's already quite bad. And he does have more, but those Thanes are really powerful. And with the double potion spam, it's very, very hard to get through them. I feel like they can last forever. And Thanes also have extremely high leadership, so even if the rest of your army is getting crushed, they'll usually fight for a long, long time. So again, my Quarrelers are taking serious damage, and I didn't want to run my Slayers away from them. It was a really tough situation, because if I did, these guys would just zerg my guys. So I had to keep the Slayers there and try and keep these Quarrelers online for as long as I could, even though they're kind of losing their effectiveness. I feel like at this point I should have just abandoned the Quarrelers, who are already abandoning us, and I should have just ran around and destroyed these Hell Cannons back here. But now that the only battle really taking place is this central battle, I wasn't too worried, because again, he's going to have to shoot into his own units with these to really, do anything at this point. And thankfully, these Slayers, they actually did pretty decent damage to these guys. I definitely can't complain. He is casting the Cascading Fire Cloak, which is quite good. It gives melee defense as well as armor piercing. So against the Dwarves, that's really strong. And as you can see, all I really have left here is a Runesmith, I think, and Ungrim. So or Thane. And he used the Potion of Toughness, which gives him melee defense, armor, and heals him. So, topically, if you just looked at this from an overhead view, you'd think that I was just absolutely done for. I have routing units. This entire unit of Marauder Horsemen with their throwing axes are just free range now. And again, these Slayers are just, playing the Benny Hill theme and chasing around his Lord, which is more often than not what you have to do with the Dwarves to deal with these type of situations. And that Hell Cannon is just literally causing hell for me. So I do have these Quarrelers who are still taking some decent shots over here at these Marauder Horsemen. So I was happy about that. They were taking damage, and because in the log game, that could make the difference, So, and I'm keeping the Slayers here. Otherwise, they'll just get run down. And as far as the front line goes, I did win the Western battle here. I do have a Thane up here, I believe a Thane, and then I also have this healthy group of Longbeards. Well, healthy is a relative term, and they're going to cut through that group. And here, Ungrim and this Runesmith, they're just bro tag teaming this squad. They're doing really, really good, and I was able to detach. No, Ungrim's actually back here. That's a Thane and a Runesmith, and I decided to send Ungrim back because I had had enough of these Hell Cannons, and finally I had broken through his front line enough where I could afford to do that. And Ungrim is just so freaking strong. He's just gonna he's gonna take this Lord, these trolls, and this cannon out by himself. He is just so good. And over here again, finally these Chaos units are starting to get shaken, and again, my units are still steady. Their morale is pretty good. The Thane is shaken, but he does use the Potion of Healing, so hopefully that damaged, sustained leadership hit will begin to negate itself. And his leadership's going back up, and now he's steady, so I was feeling pretty good. And now he did soften up my back line enough that he was able to ride through and, unleash hell and, You know, that was definitely tough. Wasn't much I could do about that. You know, he invested a lot of resources in all these horsemen, and now it's paying off. So as far as this battle goes, Ungrim is just in here freaking being a beast, and I did end up pulling the Slayers and abandoning those guys back there because I felt like I needed them for these trolls, but Ungrim is just ready to give the business, and he's in pretty good health. This Chaos Lord Fire did use the Cascading Fire Cloak, so that's going to be pretty good. And as you can see, Ungrim is starting to take a little bit of damage. Thankfully, this cannon is basically offline, so these Slayers were able to come help out, and I was very happy about that. This other cannon is still shooting, however, and pretty much I just have the Runesmith, the Thane, and another Thane up here, and then just a few beat-up Longbeards. So if you look at the army breakdown, I have 60 units to his 240. But again, I have very high tier Lord units. This Thane is at 100% HP. Runesmith's at about 60. Ungrim is probably the most damaged of the bunch, but again, he is very tough, and he is still getting those buffs from the Runesmith. So I couldn't complain. I was quite happy, and his Lord is pretty damaged. And all of his units that are left are very low leadership. He has these Trolls. He has Marauder Horsemen, which are sitting around 40. So if anything else goes south, these guys are probably going to start routing soon, as well as these Trolls, who are at like 3 leadership right now. So I think he realizes that he needs to make an impact immediately, and he brings down this Chaos Sorcerer to try and help out. But again, maybe not the best idea, because I have a lot of really tough Dwarven units down here, and they're going to just hack him to pieces when they get their paws on him. So as you can see, he just took a chunk for about 15% of his HP. He's shaken, and now he's running. And unfortunately, what that does for him is it takes a pretty serious leadership hit across these guys. They are not happy. They've taken a lot of damage. They've taken substantial army losses, and that's the one nice thing about the Dwarves. They have very high leadership. I mean, look, no one's even phased here. Granted, Ungrim is never phased, but it pays off for sure. Even in these battles that you think you're losing, you can actually win simply because of morale. Like if these Axemen had been able to kite me around for 45 minutes and just tee off on my remaining units, I probably wouldn't have been able to do anything. Although they do such little damage, these units, especially with potions, might have been able to survive. But oh, I love it. That organ gun managed to come back online and get a few shots. So at this point, he had a few pockets of resistance. So I'm just running the Dwarves around in a little bro pack, and they're just having their way with the remaining Chaos units. So this is kind of his last stand in here. He pulls his last of his units, and as you can see, Ungrim is not having any of those Trolls business, and he's definitely slaying those guys. And I'm still getting the Ruin and the Axe of Dargo, and all of these things are really paying off right now. And his Chaos Lord is so low that he can't really afford to land it. If he landed here and that Thane or Ungrim got a single swipe on him, it could one-shot him, and then that would be an instant rout for his entire army, most likely. Because again, the leadership on these guys is 31, and these Trolls are rocking 9 leadership. Well, 4 now, and it's kind of fluctuating. So again, it's a very bad matchup for them. These Thanes and Slayer King here and the Runesmith were basically born to kill these type of units. So they're doing some really good work here, and he is running out these Marauder Horsemen, picking off what little Dwarf units I still have left on the battlefield, which is definitely tough. Not much I can do about that. But again, he's going to have to crack my main core here, which I don't see that happening anytime soon. And finally, he took enough army losses, and everything routed. It was definitely a very close battle, but it just goes to show you the power of the Dwarf Lords. They're just so sturdy, and because you can use the Potion of Healing and the Potion of Toughness, and really they can just last forever. Like I could probably have a Thane fighting some Chaos Warriors with great weapons for most of the battle by himself. So again, very powerful units there. Even though he absolutely dominated me with these Hell Cannons, that was brutal. That was definitely one of the best displays of Hell Cannons I've had used against me. So really good game to Sal. I feel like the Longbeards with great weapons did not end up paying off in that matchup. But again, you got to try new things or else you'll never learn. So it was definitely fun. So his army composition, the great weapon, Chaos Warriors did quite well. And these Marauder Horsemen actually got a lot of kills. They usually don't rack up that many kills. But again, I didn't bring shields, and they did pretty well. But those Hell Cannons, darn, they did a really good job. So again, great game to Sal. Look forward to seeing you again on Ladder. And I just want to thank you guys all for watching. I really appreciate the support, and I'll continue to put out as much content as I can. Take care, guys.